What's going on, everyone? This is Mitch with SC Weather. Hope you all are having a great start to your Monday. In this video, we're going to further break down and talk about the potential for winter weather here in the southeast, North Carolina specifically, Virginia. Here, the model trends overnight increased the risk of a potential snowstorm, really, for southern areas. And like I said, I'm really talking about areas in North Carolina, things like that. So we're going to get deep in this. The European looks good. The GFS is still holding its own. The ensembles look great. And there's not just one risk. There's another risk right after the risk for Friday into Saturday. So we're going to talk a little bit on that second risk. But before we get going, guys, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, much appreciated. I'm very active on both my social media platforms over here on Twitter and Facebook. And I appreciate all the love y'all been showing here by supporting me. So it's always great to get the support. So let's get deep into this. First off, we're going to start by looking at the winter weather outlook. This is from the National Weather Service, so this isn't just bogus information. This is real information here, and this is basically the percent chance to see a quarter-inch of liquid equivalent, whether that's snow or sleet. Now you're thinking a quarter-inch of precipitation. That don't seem like a lot, but if it's in the form of snow or sleet, depending on the ratio, depending on if it's 10 to 1, 8 to 1, 12 to 1, how cold it is, whatever's falling, how cold it is, depending, if it's melting quickly, if it's not. There's a lot of factors to play into that, but at the end of the day, you still got a quarter-inch, right? So it's already highlighting a risk at day 5, which is Friday and Saturday, basically. Look, a huge chunk of North Carolina. That includes Raleigh, Greensboro, almost down to Charlotte. This could extend down there, and of course, most of the mountains here. Not really any area in South Carolina, but probably about 90% of the state of Virginia. It goes all the way up to Washington, D.C. So this is already some alarming signals for snow in these areas. It's starting to actually come together. So we're going to look at the European first. We're going to look at some ensembles. We're going to look at specific cities that can see what the ensembles, the EPS ensembles are really showing for these areas. So this is the European run. Make sure your video is at 720 so you can see this as clear as possible. I'm going to work on in the future trying to get my videos in 1080. I'll tell you what, guys, I'm not the most smartest guy when it comes to computers, so I'm going to have to figure out a software or something to make these a little bit more clear for y'all, but I hope it comes in clear. But here comes our system for Thursday, late Thursday. We're getting into Friday, and this really looks like it's going to be a Friday storm. Timing of the day may not be favorable, so we're going to watch that. But if you look at the European model, even in places in upstate South Carolina, it might be just cold enough for maybe some snow, especially if this comes in upstate South Carolina in Friday morning, which is showing it would. So still watch out, Greenville, Spartanburg. Who knows? This could start off as a quick snow mix of rain or whatever it may be. But we'll know more of that when the short range models begin to come in, and they will begin to come in within the next 24 hours. But if you notice that little dot of pink, that means it's close to mixing into the upstate. But snow is breaking out over the mountains of North Carolina. This is definitely a cold air damming event. So it's definitely a mountains eastward event. I'm not saying Tennessee won't get hit. There's definitely going to be a potential for them. But the way this is shaping up, you got a decent amount of cold air. You don't really have no high pressure on top, funneling in a lot of cold air. But here we go. We get into time frame. This turns out pretty much just an all-out snowstorm for areas even outside the mountains, and it's getting close to Charlotte. We're getting very close to Raleigh. But what happens is the low pressure gets over here, it kind of transfers and starts dumping some precipitation even into eastern and central North Carolina. This is going to give Raleigh a chance, and maybe a good chance of a thumping of snow here at the tail end of the storm as it really begins to intensify. This is what we have to watch, because this can dump a few inches of snow pretty quick in areas like Raleigh and the eastern plains of North Carolina. But we're dealing with really marginal temperatures, so this is going to be tough, but it's definitely possible. But if we look at the GFS here, it's very similar. If you want to know what day we're at, look up here. MON stands for Monday, so that's today. Flipping through in time here, we're getting into the week. By the way, it's going to be a pretty decently dry week, so we're going to have a chance to dry out a little bit before a parade of storms begins shooting through. but here it comes. You got a little bit of snow starting to break out in the mountains here in North Carolina. Same time frame. This low pressure is in a decent position. There's just not really a high pressure on top to really funnel in any cold air. The low pressure gets over here. There's snow breaking out over the Triad in North Carolina, even central areas of North Carolina, the mountains. But you can even look at this and tell that it's really it's a marginal event. And you got a lot of greens mixed with blue. You click a sounding here of where the European says it's snowing, and it has it 36 degrees. The stout warm nose gets above 32 degrees just off the surface, and it stays there for a decent amount of time. Guys, I know that would be rain, in my opinion. That's a rain sounding. The same area where the European is saying snow. So this is definitely something that we need to. That's a factor we need to pay attention to. I know a lot of people want snow. Yeah, I do too. But I don't know if that's necessarily going to pan out the way we want it to right now. But we're going to watch here. The European model gets going here, and this is the snowfall accumulation off the European model. That is a big time North Carolina snowstorm for sure. It gives almost all areas of North Carolina snowstorm besides far southeastern areas in the Wilmington. But I don't know if you can see that. That's 5-6 inches of snow even outside the mountains. So that's a stripe of decent snow for you guys. Now, you get it. This is the EPS Ensemble runs. So this is definitely a big time symbol of snow right here. Let me tell you something. If the Ensemble runs, if the Euro run are showing something this significant, and this isn't super far out. It's a few days away. It's Friday. It's at the end of the week. This is a big deal. That is a big signal for a snowstorm outside the mountains. Obviously for the mountains too. It's really close. It's even inching in the areas of South Carolina. If y'all hear my kids, I'm sorry about that. They're just getting ready for get going for their day. But it's even inching into South Carolina. For my South Carolina folks, gotta watch out for this too. But this is a pretty big signal for snow into North Carolina, into Virginia. But check out here. You get going into time, and then you have another re-amp here, and it grows anymore. That's because there's another storm that comes in early next week that's been showing up and hits North Carolina again. And I'm sorry, speaking on behalf of South Carolina, I live in central South Carolina. Trust me, I want snow, but this signal is not great. This storm misses us too. So that's 2 storms in a row within 8-9 days that miss South Carolina. Sorry guys, trust me, it gets frustrating. This is temperatures right in the middle of the storm off the European run. This is probably where the snow's falling the heaviest around this time frame. But check it out. It's signaling snow in these areas at 34, 35 degrees. That's Hickory. It's probably around Greensboro, Winston-Salem. 36 degrees in Charlotte. And let me tell you, that is some marginal temps. You're going to have some precipitation falling very fast for this to be snow. And it's not even that cold in the mountains. So this is just a factor. We need to watch out for it. The soundings are marginal, very marginal setup. So here we're going to check out, and I did this last night too. These are 50 different runs put together to create a mean. So it's 50 runs ran basically, and it's basically the ensembles, and it creates a mean. So you look down here, this is the mean. So for this little time frame right here, you got 1 inch, and this is getting into the January 9th range. This is that first signal. So this is Greenville, South Carolina, by the way. So solid signal of snow throughout the entire run. It shows almost 3 different chances. That's kind of what it's showing me there. Now, some big runs is probably skewing it a little bit, but at the same time, Greenville, watch out. And when I say Greenville, I know you're thinking, what about Clemson? What about Greer? What about Spartanburg? In this scenario, you can kind of put all them areas that are really close to each other together. So just consider that a signal for parts of the upstate. And you go to Rock Hill, very similar, not quite as robust, but there's also one gigantic member right here skewing probably parts of areas right here. But that's a solid signal, 1 inch, 2 inch. And you don't think that's a lot, but that's a lot for the South. Greensboro, North Carolina, holy cow, this could be a jackpot area. This storm kind of reminds me, and this storm definitely increased as we got closer. But this storm kind of reminds me of December 2018. So y'all almost got a foot of snow. I don't think y'all are going to get that much, but this is a pretty big signal off the ensembles here for Greensboro. We look at, I think, Charlotte. No, this is Raleigh next. Y'all have really a good chance when that low pressure really switches to the coast to see some snow, maybe a few inches. I don't know how much yet. There's going to be so marginal in that area as far as temperatures. And Charlotte, still a signal there too. Charlotte is going to be very close. So those are some main cities in North Carolina and parts of South Carolina that are worth mentioning. But this storm has potential, guys, and not just this storm. Let's see if we can get this to come back up. If you go through in time, this storm gets going, but here comes another storm. This storm looks even more impressive and looks more put together. And this is for Monday into Tuesday of next week. This will change 100 times. Not 100 times, but it's not super far out, but it's still decently far out. This has something. This could be a good storm for South Carolina if we could get some more cold air to work in. In fact, it's a big storm for Mississippi and Alabama. But then, man, we just get warm-nosed badly in Georgia and South Carolina. It is just a really crappy setup here. It just stinks that we're wasting all this potential. We need low pressure to scoot down here a little bit more. But this is a really good track, but just not enough cold air. But this is a storm to watch out for too. And that storm potentially turns into a monster for the Northeast, so we'll watch that. But that's all I got, guys. Y'all have a great Monday, and be sure to like the video if y'all do, subscribe, and thank y'all for the support.